What are some of the guardrails that we should or could use during this season?
Yeah, I think some of the ones that come to mind for me, and these aren't necessarily specific to summer, but are just some of the guardrails that I'm walking in is, limiting my use of social media because and not using that when I'm in isolation or alone, because it is a time when people are posting their family trips and their beach photos, and that can just be a place where there's more triggering photos than you want to be exposed to or be watching. You guys know one of my activities of choice is to run, and I'm very conscientious that I'm not just out running alone by places like beach fronts and lake, where it's most likely that others may be, in less clothing, because that's just situations I want to avoid. I think too about the importance of having a travel plan. And I know especially in the first couple of years of our recovery, this was key for me, because some of those relapse patterns had been related to time off, family trips, where there would be that lack of boundaries, the lack of some of those routines, being maybe in other people's homes or hotels where guards and protections that you've put in place on your TV at home or your computer aren't necessarily there. And so I would have written up a few things in that season, like, here are things I've committed to. And because my wife and I had been through full disclosure, because she knew all of my stuff, she was aware of them. And for us to have a game plan going in, how to navigate them, really helped. So I think that's something to consider if you've walked some of this road with your spouse, and they know the areas that are a problem for you, to pre-trip kind of talk through, okay, here's a couple of special things that, hey, when we're at home, I don't have to worry about. But when we're at the lake house or your in-laws or this friend's place, these are going to be important for me to follow. And I just want to let you know ahead of time how I'm planning to handle these things. And then that can kind of help you feel like a team heading into those situations.
Yeah, I think, Mike, you were talking about, like, your body responding to going downtown and hearing the music. And, I know I've had situations too where, like, coming out of spring, like track meets and things like that have been, like, really triggering to me in the past. I think that writing that stuff out is a form of a guardrail, is saying I'm not going to go to these things. And I also think it's important too, depending on where you are in your recovery and in your marriage, like including your spouse or including your partner in that, definitely including your group members. But I really do think something that, even from the last question, that keeps coming to mind is just, like, the word no is an okay response to getting an invitation to go somewhere, or even if it's going to a concert that is going to be outside and there's going to be a lot of inappropriate clothing and the music isn't necessarily setting the scene or the mood that you feel safe in. Like, it's okay to say no. And I think that that's a tool that we can wield. And oftentimes we have this fear of missing out or missing an experience. Another one for me, Nick talked about guardrails on social media. Like, mine's I just don't have social media. That's another thing that kind of helps me keep me from that mindlessly scrolling and accidentally sort of stumbling on someone's profile and beach pictures, that kind of pattern.
Especially when you're in those situations where you don't have the structure.
Totally.
For me, being an introvert, when we get in these large family settings, I can very quickly be overwhelmed with the boundaries, not the boundaries, but the expectations that I feel might be placed on me to engage in a certain way or with certain people. And a lot of times the phone is just a really easy way to kind of check out and look
totally
like I'm
disconnect.
doing something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally.